So, you decided to buy a handgun. Today, we're going to try to give you a little bit of advice.
Whether you're new to the gun world or a novice in the gun world, today we've got some food for thought for you. And if you're an expert out there, try to leave some leftovers for the rest of us, huh? Welcome back, Journeyers. Thank you so much for joining us again today. I'm joined by Tyler. We are your concealed carry concierges, the gatekeepers of the gun world, if you will. And today, we're going to be offering you some advice and some experience, maybe so, what it's like from our side of the glass.
By all means, this video is not the be-all, end-all when it comes to taking things into consideration to purchase your first firearm. There's things like the history of the company, reputation of certain models, and plenty of other things that you to take into account before you purchase your first gun.
Whether you're new or novice, it's going to be some food for thought today. We'd appreciate the heck out of it if you get over there and blast that like button. Also subscribe to the channel. Consider getting down in that comment section and let us know if you enjoy this kind of content, because your feedback is really what drives us. When we see that you've liked a video and other videos don't get as much attention, then we know the kind of direction of what material we're needing to bring to you, because without you folks, we've really got no other reason to be doing this. So thank you so much for being here. Consider getting over to the concealedjourney.com. That's our website where we've got vinyls, we've got merch, we've got rosters and schedules for our training as well. Consider our social medias, obviously here on YouTube, IG, the Instagram, the Facebooks, you know, all of those great things that the kids are loving these days. We're going to try to make this pretty slick for you folks. Let's see if we can accomplish that. First off, with the bow body, we're going to talk about the purpose, right? Would you consider that to be a priority?
Absolutely. I would say it's almost critical.
Yeah.
The purpose of the firearm is going to determine basically everything else about the firearm. It can be the size, the caliber, the way it works, you know, whether you go for a single action revolver or a semi-automatic magazine fed 9mm, it's going to make a huge difference.
Totally. You're going to buy these things generated towards what you're going to do with them, right? Whether that be home defense. In that case, if it's for home defense, you're going to want something that is probably a larger firearm, right? Holds more ammunition, should be light bearing, or at least light capable bearing. Then moving into what if another purpose is this gun that you're going to buy is going to be for concealed carry. At that point in time, you know, something like this 43 is going to be pretty popular. Maybe not ideal for you for what you're doing. Obviously, there's a ton of different body shapes, and you know, your attire is obviously going to make a difference in that. Other things we've covered in another video. And then if it's a gun that you're just going to buy for the range, you know, cool factor 1000, then you don't have to necessarily be as restricted in the other parameters, like, no, it needs to be thin so I can conceal it well. So those are things that you should consider, at least first, buying a gun. I think we both agree that that's primary. That would be the most important thing to consider.
It is
first.
It is the single most important thing to consider when you're purchasing a firearm.
If you're going to buy a gun, right? You should consider that, I think.
Absolutely.
I think you should consider that.
Yep.
Secondly, another thing, this is in order of importance as far as we deem it anyway, keep that in mind, is going to be fit and feel of the firearm. You know, you want to talk about how you can access and reach and manipulate all the different functions and features on a handgun, you know. So if you've got small hands, picking up something like a Beretta 92 or this M9A3 here is going to be a little bit difficult for you to reach that magazine release, to reach that slide release. Can you even get to the decocker / safety?
One of the things that your hand style can actually play into is whether you're going for a double stack magazine gun, such as the Steyr or most Glocks, or if you're going to go for a single stack magazine, like what would be in this Smith & Wesson Shield here, because that'll determine the thickness of the overall gun, which will affect how well it carries and also how well it fits in your hand.
Absolutely. Yeah, and like the different actual features going into a gun, like let's talk just straight semi-automatic striker fired or something that's hammer fired. You know, you consider, is no safety safe enough for you? Now, if you ask me, this is my safety, right? This is my safety, and a holster is a safety as well. But if those aren't adequate for you, there are a ton of manufacturers out there that make external manual safeties, and if that is the kind of peace of mind and comfort that you need for a firearm, that you require with nothing else, then by all means you should have that, because it's up to you to feel safe and comfortable and confident with your firearm. Because if you don't, then you're not going to carry it or you're not going to shoot it, and then they get lonely in the safe, and that's not fair to the gun. So thirdly, maybe fourthly, I don't know, I've got them kind of like this, because which one is actually more important? Is it going to be aftermarket support, or is it going to be the price? Now, I typically tell people disregard the price as long as you can.
Generally speaking, yeah, you definitely don't want to skimp out. If something's going to be, $400 or $500, there's going to be a big difference between that and an $800 or $900 gun. And I've always said, if you can save whatever amount you wind up saving up for a gun, you could always save more. Just take longer and get something that's better. Now, does this mean everybody needs to be walking around with $2,000 race guns?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, if you can save up $400, you can save up $500. If you can save up $500, you can save up $600.
Sure.
See where we're going. So, what he's talking about with the aftermarket support, there's a lot of weird guns coming out of Turkey, Hungary, overseas, and all that kind of stuff. They don't have the best warranties or repair centers or anything else like that, compared to something that's made in the States, or something like a Glock, which you could make an entire Glock out of nothing but non-Glock parts. So that would be something that would be an example of a really good gun that it has a lot of aftermarket support.
Sure. Yeah, the customer service is super important to consider. Like Tyler mentioned earlier in the video, talking about the history and the pedigree of firearms, you also want to consider the reputation of the brands that you're getting into. Just because it's the cheapest gun doesn't mean it's going to be the best gun for you,
Looking at you, Taurus.
Yeah, okay. Hey, shots fired. No pun intended. Anyways, you want to consider the fact that can you even get a hold of the company if a part breaks on you, or if you just lose a part? Can you get a hold of that company, for one? If not, can you source that company third party on the internet? Obviously, here on the channel we've got some Glocks around, and I think Glock owns the aftermarket department. I think they have aftermarket superiority. Not to say that other manufacturers out there don't have solid holdings in.
Smith & Wesson's one of them. Any pistol that has been, or any company that has any pistol that's been adopted by a law enforcement agency or military, there's going to be a lot of extra stuff made for them. Just because by that very nature, they found it profitable to produce way more than they ever need for those guns. Just so those people, those agencies, those organizations have the spare parts to repair the firearms that are actually serving.
Yeah, I think, the big names have their big names probably for a reason. After decades and decades, maybe centuries of time being used and tested, running through trials, the big names have a big name for a reason. Now, that's not to say that should be your only option. Obviously, there are some sleepers out there for sure, but
I think we both know which one we're thinking of with that.
That's okay. It doesn't need to be mentioned. Now, let's talk about the price, okay? Let's at least regarding price as a priority. I like to tell people, when I hand people guns when I'm working at the gun store, I'll pull every single gun off the wall. I'll pull every one out. I've got all day for you. I'll pull every gun out, and I'm going to lay them on the table, but I face the price tags down, because I just want you to pick up every single gun and try every gun. Point it, see how it feels, see how it fits in your hand. It's likely you're going to pick up one gun and you're going to grin ear to ear and you're going to know that's the one. You get that Goldilocks effect,
Absolutely.
I've seen it with plenty of customers coming into the store. They're like, oh yeah, that's the one. Yeah. And then, you narrow it down to like 3 and then talk about price after that based on their features. Are they feature rich? What's the value like? Maybe it is a little bit more expensive, but it comes with 2 extra mags and it comes with a nice hard case. And it fits your hand better than all the other ones. At that point in time, maybe you spend a little bit more money, but what do you think?
Well, another thing is, we understand that not everybody out there is, just making, 6 figures and all that kind of stuff. If you do have to, there are some guns out there that are okay, that are underneath the $400 mark. And if that's what you can afford, that's what you can afford. But you can also always work your way up. If you maybe start out with a Taurus, but then you take that Taurus and you trade it in for a Ruger, then you take that Ruger, you trade it in for a Smith, and so on and so forth. You see how it snowballs. Yeah. You'll never get if you buy a new gun, you'll never get what you paid for it. But you can always use that as a future investment into your next gun.
Yeah, these things are essentially currency for themselves at this point in time, along with ammunition. And don't be afraid of used guns. You've got to take a little bit more time to educate yourself on what to look for in a used gun. But don't be afraid of used guns or like military or law enforcement trade-ins, you know, surplus guns. I mean, I know there's a ton of like the original M&P 9s and in the full size, and Glocks there are always police trade-ins that are available for those. And sure, they probably had like 10,000 rounds through them, but for one, they're probably still in fine shape because they are quality firearms. And secondly, if they're not in that great of shape, the aftermarket support for them picks up on all the wear for them. So
yeah, I was just gonna say you could circle back, or circle back to the aftermarket thing. Like for Glock Gen 3s, there is just a massive aftermarket for them. Just with so if you do see an old used, Glock Gen 3 that's maybe kind of beat up or something like that. Right. But if it's like for $350 and the only thing it really needs is another barrel, just go for it. You can get a new barrel for $100, $120, something like that.
Yeah, $120 for sure.
Yeah. So
and keep in mind when you're thinking about the price is obviously relevant, and it's also relative. There's some people that make way more money than other folks, and saving $400 for this handgun may take somebody 4 months. Somebody else could just go drop that every weekend, no big deal. But for wherever you land in the salary department, keep in mind that you've got a budget. And that's important. And if that's how you have to live, then by all means, don't risk it for something else. Save a little bit longer, like Tyler said, but also consider in your budget other things, not just the gun, because a gun does you no good if you don't have any ammo to feed it, or if you're buying something for concealed carry, your concealed carry handgun does you no good if you don't have a holster to put it in. So try to accommodate your budget for those things as well. So you may have to save a little bit longer, but then you can get, everything you need right away, ammo, holster, gun, cool. And, consider saving money for training because, you can pimp this gun out. So you can put a bunch of money into this gun and you can pimp this thing out. And that might help you with this gun, but it's not going to help you with this gun. No. Whereas training, you get training for yourself with your friends, even if it's just dry fire. That's going to translate to all the guns you use. Also your mentality and how you live your life. So
then doesn't matter which gun you pick up if you don't have a straight trigger pull, it's not going to shoot well for you. Yeah. And training will absolutely help you with that. I know it's helped me because
like we said before, it's probably not the sights, right?
It's probably not the sights. Right. Most likely the shooter.
Obviously, as we saw last year in 2020, record-breaking numbers of new gun owners out in the world, upwards of 5.5 million.
I've heard 5. I'd heard 6, but also heard there's 30 million just background checks. Alone, which is 30 million just background checks.
Impressive. Well, yeah, and so at least those background checks, those can be for multiple guns. If you go in, you buy 3 guns at one time. That's only one background check ran, right? And now you own 3 guns. So, this is our experience working from the gun counter. I mean, some people may not have had to work behind the gun counter to know these things, but things that we've especially picked up on working behind a gun counter, things that I like to practice when I'm working with a customer buying a new gun is just taking the time. And another thing to consider, if you don't work at a gun store, but obviously you're a customer at a gun store, ask that gun store employee tons of questions. Yep. Ask them a ton of questions. Everything you can think of. Write stuff down before you go into the gun store with a list and ask every single one of these questions. Yep. And if that person that initially addresses you can't help you, find somebody that can, or find a different place that can answer those questions. Yeah. Whether it be a different gun store or obviously the internet is infinite, so there's a ton of information out there. Yep.
Generally speaking, I mean, I don't know. I can only speak for myself and Damien, but I know it's true for us. We're here to help you. Like, it's really the only reason that we're here. Like, no one works in the gun industry to get rich, really, especially behind the counter. So we love nothing more than to help a brand new person, on their journey into buying firearms, whether it be rifles, shotguns, pistols, but especially for us, pistols and stuff like that, just because it's such a personal choice. Yeah. And nothing makes me happier when someone comes in and they have a list of questions or they have a bunch of guns they want to take a look at, because then I just pull them out and we go through and we go over each individual gun company, their features, how they fit and feel, that kind of stuff. Play around, and I say play around, but obviously not playing with firearms. Handle like a variety of different firearms and figure out which one is going to be the best one for them.
That's important. That's super crucial. And because you don't want to have buyer's remorse, and you also don't want to have a negative experience when you go into a gun store, That's my impression anyway. I want everybody to have a super positive experience, whether you're hanging out with us at some of our training classes or you come into the gun store that we work at. It's about propagating proper and positive gun culture. That's why we're here. It's because we love it.
Yep.
You can see some people that are in the industry that don't love it, and I tell you, passion precedes everything. It really does. It overpowers all that other stuff, and I hope you feel like you can trust that we are passionate about this.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate you so much for being here today. Honestly, this is pride and joy here for us to do it. Just talking about guns. Mm-hmm. We're hanging out. We're talking about guns with you folks.
Yep.
And I don't know. Sounds like a dream come true, if you ask me. So if you wouldn't mind, please also once again consider over at the Concealed Journey checking out our vinyls, checking out our classes for training as well. Tons of new stuff coming out here in 2021. We're excited to see you. We'll see you on the socials. We'll see you out in real life, which has been an honor for you that we've actually met. So thank you so much. Hope you have a great day. We'll see you next time.